Whispers in the Silence. The Echo facility loomed beneath abandoned ruins like a technological tomb. Guards stood at attention as Nolan Reed passed through the 7th security checkpoint. His footsteps echoed against sterilized floors while red warning lights pulsed silently overhead. "Remember protocol," barked Director Harlow, a stern woman with eyes that never blinked quite enough. No conversation, no names, absolutely no emotional engagement. The prisoner in Vault 37 is not human. Her voice is classified as a Class A sonic weapon. Nolan nodded. He'd been preparing for this assignment for months. As the facility's newest sound containment specialist, he understood the risks of working with sonic deviants, especially one as dangerous as Prisoner 37. "Has she ever attempted communication?" Nolan asked, adjusting his sound-dampening equipment. Harlow's expression darkened. "Once, we lost 3 technicians. Their eardrums ruptured first, then their minds. Don't make their mistake." The vault door hissed open, revealing a chamber unlike any Nolan had seen. The walls pulsed with noise cancellation technology. At its center sat a woman. No, not a woman. Something more. Her skin glowed a soft violet in the dim light. Silver-gray eyes studied him with ancient patience. Her containment suit sparkled with embedded sonic suppressors. But what struck Nolan most was her serenity amid such brutal isolation. "I'm here to recalibrate your containment field," Nolan stated flatly, avoiding eye contact. "This will take approximately 40 minutes. She tilted her head slightly, watching him work. Her lips moved occasionally, forming silent words that died in the suppression field. Nolan tried to ignore her, focusing instead on his diagnostic panel. Then it happened. A power fluctuation, brief but significant. The readout flashed. Sonic suppression. In that moment, she spoke Nolan. His name on her lips felt like an electrical current through his spine. Not because she knew it somehow, that was concerning enough, but because of what followed. Images flooded his mind. Purple skies, crystalline forests, a melody that seemed woven from starlight, memories that couldn't possibly be his. The suppression field snapped back online. Her voice vanished, but the damage was done. "How do you know my name?" he whispered. "Protocol forgotten." She smiled. Though silent again, she gestured to her throat, then to him. A connection. Nolan's hands trembled as he completed the calibration. Everything he'd been taught warned against what he was feeling. This pull toward her. Yet he couldn't shake the sense that he'd heard her voice before. "Long before today, I'll return tomorrow," Nolan said as he gathered his equipment, breaking every rule with that simple promise. As the vault sealed behind him, Director Harlow waited with narrowed eyes. "Any complications, Reed?" He kept his face carefully blank. None. Everything functioning within parameters, but as he walked away, Nolan felt her voice lingering in his mind like a forgotten lullaby. Something had awakened inside him, something that had been waiting for her to call his name. Something ancient. Something forbidden. Frequencies of memory. Nolan couldn't sleep. Her voice echoed through his dreams, pulling at memories that felt both foreign and intimately familiar. When morning came, he reported to his shift earlier than required, his mind racing with questions. "You look terrible," remarked Technician Juno, his colleague with perpetually suspicious eyes. "First assignment jitters? Or is it something else?" "Just adapting to the new protocols," Nolan replied, avoiding her gaze. The command center buzzed with activity as Director Harlow delivered the morning briefing. "We've detected anomalous sound patterns in Vault 37. Maintenance teams will conduct thorough diagnostics today, Reed. Your clearance is temporarily suspended pending review." Panic surged through Nolan. Had they discovered yesterday's breach? His mind raced through excuses, explanations, anything to get him back to Vault 37, to her. "Director, I was mid-calibration. Those systems require consistent monitoring during the adjustment period." "I should continue." "That won't be necessary." Her tone left no room for argument. "You'll be reassigned until further notice." Hours later, Nolan found himself in the facility archives, supposedly researching containment protocols. Instead, he searched for information about prisoner 37. Most files were classified, but one document caught his eye. Project Harmony, genetic resonance in human Valari hybrid subjects. Valari. The word triggered another cascade of not-quite memories. Violet skies, crystal spires that sang in the wind, and her, the prisoner, among her people. Nolan downloaded the file to his personal device. Heart pounding. That night in his quarters, he pored over the fragmented information. The Valari were an ancient race whose vocal vibrations could manipulate matter itself. They had visited Earth centuries ago, leaving behind descendants with diluted abilities, hybrids like him. A soft knock at his door jolted him from his research. Juno stood in the hallway, her expression unreadable. "Security flagged your archive access," she whispered. "I diverted the alert, but they'll notice eventually." "What are you doing, Reed?" "I need to see her again." The truth spilled out before he could stop it. To his surprise, Juno nodded. "I suspected as much. There's a maintenance tunnel that bypasses main security. I can get you 15 minutes before systems reset. That's all." "Why would you help me?" Her eyes softened. "Because I've heard her voice too, years ago. It changes you." Minutes later, Nolan slipped through the darkened facility, following Juno's directions until he reached the back entrance to Vault 37. Using her access codes, the door slid open with a soft hiss. She was waiting, as if she'd known he would come. Her violet skin seemed to pulse with inner light in the dimness. When their eyes met, she smiled. Nolan quickly disabled the sonic suppression field for a precious 30 seconds. "How do you know me?" he whispered urgently. "Your mother was Valari." Her voice flowed like liquid silver. "You were hidden among humans during the Purge. Your true name is Tarek Val, son of the Harmonic Conclave. My cousin." The world seemed to tilt beneath Nolan's feet. "That's impossible. I grew up in Eastern District Orphanage 9. My parents died in the war. A necessary deception." A flicker of sadness crossed her features. "Your Valari heritage was suppressed, but your DNA remembers. My voice awakens what was hidden. When I speak your name, the resonance pattern activates dormant memories. The suppression field warning blinked. Time was almost up. "I'll come back," Nolan promised. "There's more, isn't there? Between us?" Her fingers brushed his through the containment field, sending electric tingles up his arm. "More than you know. We are bound by song and starlight. Nolan Reed, always have been." The field reactivated, silencing her once more. But her words had already taken root, growing like crystal formations in his mind. Not just a connection, a destiny. Harmonic rebellion. For 2 weeks, Nolan maintained the delicate balance between duty and defiance. Each night, Juno helped him slip into Vault 37 for precious moments with Vesper, the name she'd finally shared with him. Each visit revealed more fragments of a past he couldn't fully remember, but increasingly felt was his. "The Valari don't simply speak," Vesper explained during one of their secret encounters. Her voice danced around him like threads of melody. "Our voices create reality threads. We sing the world as we wish it to be. That's why they fear us. Why they imprison me and my abilities?" Nolan asked, examining his hands as if they might suddenly reveal unknown powers. Vesper smiled, her violet skin catching the low light, dormant but awakening. "Haven't you noticed how sounds respond differently to you now? How music feels more dimensional?" She was right. Since their first meeting, Nolan had begun experiencing sound in new ways. Conversations carried undertones he'd never detected before. Machinery hummed with patterns that told stories of functionality or impending failure. The world had become a symphony of information. "I dreamt of crystal forests again," he confessed. "And you were there. Singing to the moons, her eyes brightened. Not dreams. Nolan. Memories of our home. The crystal forests of Velanar where we grew up together before the separation. During the day, Nolan performed his duties with mechanical precision while avoiding Director Harlow's increasingly suspicious gaze. More security personnel had been stationed throughout the facility. Random sonic scans were conducted on staff. Someone had noticed the pattern of micro-breaches. Reed. Director Harlow cornered him after a shift. Your biometric readings show unusual neural patterns. Report to medical for evaluation tomorrow. Nolan nodded, maintaining his facade of compliance. But panic twisted inside him. Medical scans would reveal the changes happening within him, the awakening Valari genetics. His secret would be exposed. That night, he rushed to Vesper's vault. They're closing in. They'll discover everything tomorrow. Her expression remained serene despite his alarm. Then, tonight we must complete your awakening. My voice can fully activate what lies dormant within you. But it requires more than these brief moments. The suppression field must be completely disabled. That's impossible, Nolan whispered. The fail-safes can be overridden with the right frequency. She placed her hand against the barrier, separating them. But it would alert security immediately. We would have minutes, nothing more. Their eyes locked. A decision forming between them without words. This wasn't just about uncovering the truth anymore. It was about freedom, about choosing a path together. If we do this, he said quietly, we can't go back. Vesper's fingers traced patterns against the barrier. There is nothing for us here, Nolan. Only silence and separation. Among the stars. We could be what we were meant to be. The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken emotion. Then Nolan made his choice. He reached for the main control panel. Tomorrow night, he whispered. I'll disable the external alarms first. Then the suppression field, be ready. As he turned to leave, Vesper called to him one last time. Nolan! Her voice wrapped around him like an embrace. Whatever happens, remember this. Across all worlds, all possibilities, my voice will always find you. Our resonance patterns are eternally aligned. The words settled in his chest. Warm and certain, that night in his quarters, Nolan found himself humming a melody he'd never learned, but somehow always known. And for the first time since their meetings began, he didn't dream of the past. He dreamed of stars stretching endlessly before them, of her hand in his, of freedom, of love that resonated across galaxies. Symphony of Defiance. The facility pulsed with unusual activity. Security patrols had doubled. Technicians scrambled to address mysterious system. Fluctuations that had begun shortly after midnight. No one noticed. Nolan slipping through maintenance. Corridors with Juno's stolen access card. You understand what this means? Juno had whispered earlier, pressing the card into his palm. I'll be branded a traitor too. Come with us, Nolan had offered, but Juno shook her head. My place is here, making sure others like her find help. Someone must remain to continue the work now. Crouched in the shadows near the central power hub, Nolan took a deep breath. His fingers tingled with newfound awareness as he touched the control panel. For the first time, he could feel the electrical currents flowing beneath his fingertips like rivers of sensation. The security override required Director Harlow's voice print, impossible to fake, or so they thought. Nolan closed his eyes, remembering Vesper's teachings from their last meeting. Focus on the memory of her voice. Feel its pattern. Now reshape it with your intention. When he spoke, Director Harlow's voice emerged from his throat. Security Protocol Alpha 97, override containment measures in Vault 37. Authorization Harlow Epsilon 6. The system hesitated, then glowed green. Authorization accepted. Alarms immediately began to wail throughout distant sections of the facility, a diversion he'd programmed to activate simultaneously. Security teams would rush to the false breaches, buying precious minutes. Nolan moved swiftly through the deserted corridors toward Vault 37. His heart thundered against his ribs, not from fear, but anticipation. The vault door recognized his approach and slid open. Inside, Vesper stood waiting, her violet skin pulsing with barely contained energy. Her eyes found his across the chamber, filled with an emotion that transcended simple joy. "You came," she whispered, as he deactivated the final barrier between them. "Always," he replied, stepping forward. When their hands touched for the first time without barriers, a shockwave of sensation cascaded through Nolan. Images, sounds, and feelings not his own flooded his consciousness, her memories becoming his, her joy, her pain, her longing. "We don't have much time," Nolan said. Though he longed to remain in that moment forever, Vesper nodded. "For your full awakening, we need harmonic synchronization. Listen to my voice. Let it reshape what was suppressed." She began to sing, not with words, but with pure tonal expression that shimmered in the air around them. The sound penetrated Nolan's very cells, activating dormant genetic sequences, rewriting neural pathways long suppressed. He gasped as his skin began to shimmer with faint violet luminescence. Power surged through him, familiar yet new. When he opened his mouth, his own voice joined hers in perfect harmony, creating patterns of sound that made the very air vibrate with possibility. Their voices twined together, rising and falling in ancient Valari tradition, a bonding ritual older than human civilization. Their hands clasped tightly as the symphony of their unified voices reached its crescendo. Suddenly, the vault door slammed open. Director Harlow stood framed in the entrance, flanked by armed guards, her face contorted with fury and fear. "Containment breach! Sonic weapons authorized!" The guards raised their weapons, but Nolan felt no fear. He turned to Vesper, their voices still connected in harmonic resonance. "Now," she whispered. Together they released a single, perfect note that expanded outward like a physical force. The sound wave shattered the weapons, fractured the reinforced walls, and knocked the guards unconscious before they could fire a single shot. Only Director Harlow remained standing, her face a mask of disbelief as she stared at Nolan's transformed appearance. "What have you become?" she whispered. Nolan took Vesper's hand, their fingers intertwining. "What I always was, just forgotten." The facility's emergency systems began the lockdown sequence. Metal barriers started descending from the ceiling. "We need to move," Vesper urged. "The resonance gateway won't hold for long." Together, they raced toward freedom, their voices creating a path where none had existed before. Behind them, sirens wailed in futile protest against a power older than Earth itself. The power of two voices, finally united. Eternal resonance. The night air hit Nolan's face like a revelation. After years underground, the open sky above the facility seemed impossibly vast. Stars punctured the darkness in patterns he suddenly recognized, constellations viewed from Earth, yet somehow familiar in a deeper way. "The perimeter defenses will activate in 60 seconds, Nolan warned, his newly heightened senses detecting the hum of charging sonic cannons. Vesper stood beside him, her violet skin luminous under moonlight. "We don't need 60 seconds. We only need our voices. Together." They faced each other on the barren ground outside the Echo facility. Their hands joined, completing a circuit of energy that flowed between them. The violet glow had spread across Nolan's skin, pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. With each passing moment, more of his Valari heritage emerged, awakened by Vesper's voice and his own acceptance. "Focus on the stars," Vesper instructed. "Our homeworld orbits the third star in the cluster humans call Pleiades. Feel its resonance pattern, hear its call. Nolan closed his eyes, stretching his newfound senses beyond Earth's atmosphere. There, a distant harmonic hum that pulled at something primal within him. The song of home, behind them. Alarms blared as the facility doors burst open. Security forces poured out, led by Director Harlow. Her face twisted with determination as she raised a specialized sonic disruption rifle. "This ends now," she shouted. "The Valari cannot be allowed to return." Vesper turned to Nolan, her eyes reflecting starlight. "Our voices." Nolan. The Gateway song, remember? And suddenly, he did remember. The melody flowed from some ancestral memory now unlocked. His voice joined with Vesper's, their tones weaving together in harmonies impossible for human vocal cords to produce. The air before them began to shimmer and distort. Colors that had no names in Earth languages spiraled into existence. Forming a portal of pure sound made visible, Director Harlow fired her weapon. The sonic pulse sped toward them, designed to shatter vocal cords and destroy their chance of escape. Without breaking their song, Vesper raised her hand. The blast dissipated into harmless vibrations that joined their melody. "Strengthening the portal! You can't stop us!" Nolan called to Harlow, his voice carrying strange overtones that made the ground tremble. "Our people have waited too long already." The portal stabilized, revealing a landscape of crystal formations that sang with their own voices. Spires that reached toward twin moons, hanging low in a violet sky. Home. Vesper tugged gently at Nolan's hand, stepping toward the gateway. But he hesitated. Turning back toward Earth one last time, his eyes found Juno in the crowd of security personnel. She nodded almost imperceptibly, a silent blessing. In that moment, Nolan made his final choice, not just escape, but return, not just freedom, but belonging. As they stepped into the portal together, Nolan felt Vesper's consciousness brush against his. No barriers remained between them, physical or emotional. Their resonance patterns had aligned completely, creating something new and unbreakable. The gateway began to close behind them. Nolan turned to Harlow and the others watching in stunned silence. "We were never your enemy." His voice carried easily across the distance. "Remember that when others like us begin to awaken, there are more of us than you know. Listen for our song." The portal sealed with a final chord of sound that lingered in the air like a promise. Director Harlow stood motionless, staring at the empty space where the gateway had been. In her hand, a small device recorded everything, a record for those who would come after. Evidence of what humanity had tried to contain and failed. Across Earth in the weeks that followed, strange phenomena began to occur. People reported dreams of crystal forests and violet skies. Musicians created melodies they claimed came to them fully formed. Children hummed songs their parents had never taught them, and sometimes, late at night, when the world grew quiet enough to truly listen, a broadcast would override communication systems briefly. Not a threat or a warning, but an invitation carried on frequencies that resonated with certain human DNA. It was Vesper and Nolan's voices, harmonized across the vast distance between stars, calling to those with forgotten heritage, reminding them of another home, another possibility. A single phrase, repeated in perfect harmony. "Listen for our voice. You've always known the melody. We are waiting among the stars." And across Earth, one by one, people began to remember and to sing back. The resonance had only just begun.